Andrew here. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. Mahatma Ghandi. About a week ago, an utterly pointless mandate was being rammed down our truckers' throats. The vaccine passport necessary to cross the border. Why do I say pointless? Well, both the CDC and the WHO admit that vaccination does not stop transmission, doesn't stop the spread, doesn't stop infection. What vaccination does is it reduces your likelihood, or reduces your symptoms, your likelihood of being hospitalized, and if you're hospitalized, less likely to hit the ICU, and if you hit the ICU, less likely to die. Reduces symptoms, does not stop the transmission. That is the reason why when Omicron started spreading, the travel ban on the African countries that had it lasted about 4 milliseconds. You can't stop it. So the cross-border trucking vaccine mandate is utterly useless. Okay, the truckers decided to have a little protest. They were going to put together a little convoy and drive to Ottawa and complain. And they ignored this for a minute or two. However, our Prime Minister, not being the sharpest tool in the shed, who is firmly in campaign mode all the time. He is not the Prime Minister of Canada, he is the Prime Minister of his voters, which amounts to about a third of Canada. And he never, ever misses an opportunity to play to them. So he ridicules the convoy as a fringe element of extremists who were racists and sexists, I believe. So Prime Minister women-groping Blackface is complaining about other people being sexist, racists. Ponder the irony of that for a moment or two. A man who has worn blackface more times than he can actually remember. Now, I can remember every single time I wore it, as in never did it. I can remember every single time I ever saw somebody wear it. Never. And I'm a good chunk older, about 5 years older than the Prime Minister. He's old enough to know better. He just does it anyway, because he's a bigot. Nice to be lectured by a bigot on bigotry. Well, I guess he's coming from, a place of knowing what the hell he's talking about, I guess. I mean, the man knows his bigotry. Anyway, he tried the ridicule thing. All that did was cause the convoy to increase an order of magnitude overnight. I told you I went to the overpass when they were driving by. One of the fellas there told me 16,000 truckers joined the convoy the night before, crossed over at Windsor in the Windsor-Detroit border. That's a lot of trucks. So the ridicule didn't work. On to the fighting. And the Ontario government's bought and paid for handmaidens in the press. And if you don't believe me, 600 million Canadian taxpayer dollars being shoveled into the mainstream media begs to differ. Our media are bought and paid for by our government. And suddenly, all the truckers continuing the protest is harming their cause. They're getting there's an awful lot of rage on the part of the press saying, you can't do this anymore. They're fighting. An Ottawa City Councillor saw all the money raised on GoFundMe, something like $10 million. And he's suing to get his grubby little paws on it. He doesn't want the money going to the protest. And if you honestly think he wants it going to the city of Ottawa, I've got a bridge to sell you. He just wants to steal their money so that the protest peters out. They're fighting. They're in stage 3. Actually, they might be crossing into stage 4. I mentioned the spread. Angus Reid polled Canadians, and the spread on end restrictions went from 40% in favor to 54% in favor. Even Ontario, land of premier spineless jellyfish, is 54% in favor of end restrictions. Premier fascist bastard of Quebec decided that, well, you know what? I'm not going to tax the unvaccinated after all. It's a time for healing. And a health health advisor or minister out in one of the western provinces, perhaps BC, the day after 50,000 trucks descended on Ottawa, the fringe minority. Oh, it's time to start easing restrictions and opening up. And it's totally got nothing to do with the trucker convoy. We're at the, then they fight you, and then you win. And just to make things even more fun for those who are seeing this as entertainment, the truckers have been joined by the farmers, who are seeing a 400%, that's right, 400%, as in 4-fold increase in the cost of fertilizers. Food's going to get expensive, folks. Grab your butts, it's going to get ugly. But they're being joined by the farmers. Now, 2 weeks ago, or was it, a few months ago, Trudeau was all in favor of the truckers. 2 weeks ago, everybody loved the truckers. Now they hate them. 2 weeks ago, farmers feed cities. It will be interesting to see if that third of the population that is stupid enough to vote for Prime Minister Women Abusing Blackface suddenly turns on the hand that feeds them. They're liberal voters. They're yellow dog liberal voters. They're as dumb as yellow dog conservative voters or yellow dog NDP voters. They have a team, and they're going to support that team. And if that means destroying the food supply, well, they'll do it because they're dumb. But it will be interesting to see what happens, because now we're in the fighting and winning stage. I think we're in a preference cascade. I hope we're in a preference cascade.